Today on an all-new Dr. Phil, her teenage child became a mother.
They took my daughter away from me.
You're saying the government basically kidnapped your child?
They could have helped us, but instead they ripped us apart.
Now,
you're very critical of the woman that has adopted your baby.
She looks like a stripper.
this outraged mom
She's a pathological liar, and she's a horrible role model for my daughter.
wants her baby back.
She doesn't see her as a daughter. She sees her as a trophy, and she likes to keep her trophy shiny.
Why are you attacking this woman?
We can't question her. We can't judge her.
You're very upset.
Because you lied. That's my problem with you.
You are so self-destructing here. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
I try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. How you doing? How are y'all? Today, two mothers who each claim a child as their own. On one side is Evelyn's birth mother, Olivia, who last saw the little girl 5 years ago. And on the other side is her adoptive mother, Jillian, who says she's been providing a stable, loving home for the entire time. There's finger pointing on both sides with claims of partying, drinking, and even stalking. The story began 7 years ago when Olivia was 15 years old, homeless, and living in a car with her mom, Julia, and younger sister, Phoebe. Olivia had just given birth to Evelyn. Julia claims authorities found her homeless and put all the children into foster care. She eventually got her daughters back, but says her granddaughter was unlawfully placed for adoption during that time. She says they never stopped fighting for Evelyn and wants to know if there is any way to make her family whole again.
I was a single mother, homeless, living in the car. Sometimes I blame myself for this. If we hadn't been poor, I think things would have turned out very different. When I learned Olivia was pregnant, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. This is a young girl, and she wasn't even sexually active, to my knowledge. She said right from the go, this is my baby, and I'm keeping it. In the minute that my granddaughter came out, I could see that my child now had become a mother. My kids ended up in foster care because we were homeless living in the car. 6 months later, Olivia was stopped by a police officer. He asked where the baby was, and she said, the baby's at my friend's house. Next thing I know, CPS is there. That was really the last time I ever saw my granddaughter. I believe this adoption was illegal because CPS falsified documents. They stated it was absentee parent, and that is absolutely not the case. I believe they did this because they saw a beautiful, healthy, happy baby, and they saw a teen mom and a single poor mom, and they pounced. Ultimately, my granddaughter was adopted by this woman named Jillian. I do not believe Jillian was the right mother. I believe she is deceitful. There's a lot of lies going on in this case, that's for sure. She's only had my granddaughter for 5 years. In that time, she's gotten divorced, moved in with her boyfriend. That doesn't sound stable to me. That's the difference between us and Jillian. We've worked from nothing to get it for ourselves, and she just gets a boyfriend or a husband to buy it for her. She says she's a full-time mother, she doesn't work. But on the other side, she says, I have a business, I've been a trainer for 15 years. Those two things don't line up. I believe she is a fraud. Now my granddaughter is 7 years old.
My family is broken. There is a big part missing.
I'm very determined to get my granddaughter back. She should have never been taken, ever.
Olivia may have lost physical custody of Evelyn, but she says no matter what, Evelyn belongs to her.
My family and I came to California when I was 15 and pregnant with my daughter.
When I went into labor with my daughter, they brought her up right on my chest. We all cried.
It was the most amazing thing, and she was perfect.
Eventually, my little sister and I ended up in foster care, and they took my daughter away from me.
There really was no reason why they took her. They wanted her. I found out that my daughter was put into a new foster home with a woman named Jillian.
This woman is the most immature, stupid, retarded, ugly person I've ever met in my life. I do not care what happens to this woman.
And she said, I promise no matter what happens, I will always keep her in your life. I held on to that. She completely blockaded me.
She was just saying it to a scared 16-year-old so that she may take her baby.
I do believe that she manipulated the adoption by lying to Child Protective Services about who she was.
I think she's a pathological liar, and she's a horrible role model for my daughter.
When I see Jillian in her photos, I don't see a mother, I see a party girl. I mean, what a narcissistic little tick. I do think that she's promiscuous.
She looks like a stripper.
Before she adopted, she was referring to herself as mommy.
How dare you refer to yourself as mommy? How dare you?
It's been 5 years since I've seen my daughter. 5 long years.
I would give my life if I could just see her again. If I could hold her. If I could love her. If I could be with her every day.
I wish Jillian could know how much this hurts.
I just want to love my daughter.
Okay, so let's talk about this. You're saying the government came in and using their police power and their agency power,
Yes.
basically kidnapped your child.
Yeah, it may not have been, 2 men in a van, but it was a big bureaucracy that was completely against my family, and we were just 3 women.
Okay, well, let's talk about how this all happened. You were living in Florida, right?
I was living in Florida with my 2 daughters, and we sat down and decided it was time for us to leave. And we left and headed to California.
So you, Olivia, and Phoebe, pregnant.
6 months.
You leave and you go to California.
Right.
Yes.
You said you had a car and $750.
That's all I had.
And you head for California.
Right.
You figure you can get here and get work. Okay, so you get to California.
Right.
And you don't find work.
No.
You have a baby and you are living in a car.
Right.
So you, Phoebe, Olivia, and Evelyn are living in a car.
Right.
But then,
And this is Phoebe, by the way, down here. Hi. And you're living in a car, but the girls are in school.
The girls are in school, and she was at Santa Monica High School, and they have an in-school program for teen moms where the baby would be in school with her all day.
Right.
After school, I'd pick up both daughters. We'd go to the YMCA in Santa Monica. We'd stay there till they closed at 10 o'clock. We would do our showers, we would have our dinners, and do our homework. When they closed at 10 o'clock, we would get back in the car, and I would drive them around all night while they slept. At 7 o'clock in the morning, it was back to the YMCA, dress, teeth, brushing, breakfast, and to school they went.
Okay, but then something happens because it comes time to pick you up from school. You're not there because
Right.
you've gone to the promenade with friends. She spends the night at a girlfriend's house.
Yes, with the baby.
with Evelyn.
Okay, then you go to school the next day.
Yes.
And you tell the counselor you were living in your car.
I did not tell them that I was living in my car, no.
When I spoke to the CPS person, they said, we've been informed that you're living in the car.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
somebody told them, it wasn't
saw.
me.
They take the kids.
Right.
So they say, you can't be raising these 2 girls and a baby in the car, so they take them. Now, at that point, they tell you, according to you, they tell you, if you'll plead guilty to something, anything, we'll give you your kids back.
That's exactly what they told me.
And I'm sorry, I don't understand the logic of that. Plead guilty to something and we'll give you your kids back. What did they want you to plead guilty to?
I honestly have no idea. I honestly do not know. They told, it goes very quick. They're like, sign here, sign there, and you can take your kids home today.
And
Right.
you don't know what you signed.
You know what, I don't know exactly. First of all, I was very nervous, very scared.
This wasn't your first encounter with the law.
Well, this was my first encounter with this type of situation, yes.
Well, no, it wasn't. Your children had been taken into foster care in Florida.
This was very, very different.
It was a new state. We were scared, so it's pretty understandable.
Oh, listen, I'm not saying it isn't. don't jump to conclusions about what I think or what I don't. I'm trying to get to the facts. You signed some papers.
I did.
And pled guilty to something you don't know what.
I did.
Did they give your kids back that day?
Yes, they did. I left the court with them.
Okay, and then you had a hearing soon.
Right.
They took the kids again.
Well, they transferred the case from LA County to Ventura County, and that's how the case moved out there.
Mm-hmm. And you're saying they're holding hearings in Ventura County, and you don't even know it.
No, I didn't know it.
Nobody informed you.
No one had informed me that they
were holding hearings in Ventura County. So you show up for a hearing in Ventura County, which you think is the first hearing.
Right.
And it, in fact, is the third hearing.
Correct.
And the judge is saying, lady, where the hell you been?
That's exactly what happened.
What's the ruling?
They said, well, if you plead no contest, we can just give you a case plan and you can do the case plan and then we'll close the case. So I said, okay.
Mm-hmm. For the case plan, we had a program called Wraparound. And Wraparound met with us May 6th of 2009. And they met with us, and my mom and I were kind of butting heads because I was 15 trying to raise my daughter, and she was, you know, Mama Bear trying to help me. The wraparound woman said that I should go stay at my friend Drew's house for the weekend with Evelyn. And so I did.
For respite. He said we were fighting cooling off period, a couple of days for respite.
And so I went there, and then the next day, I asked my friend if he would watch Evelyn really quick while I go across the street to the Jack in the Box to get something from Jack in the Box. And a police officer stopped me and asked me how old I was. And the next thing I know, I'm in the back of a cop car, and they're taking Evelyn.
Well, you understand the police reports tell a different story.
Oh, yes, I know. But is this really the first time the police have ever lied?
Okay, well, let's hear what the police reports say.
Well, the police say that you had left the apartment to go bum a cigarette. You were stopped and arrested. At that point, went back to the apartment, knocked on the door. The baby
what was she arrested for? Bumming a cigarette?
No.
Is that a crime in California?
No, it was, this happened within like 7 minutes.
Right.
It was very quick. I went across the street.
They detained you, asked you what you were doing.
He said, how old are you? That was the first question. He got out of the car, asked me, how old are you?
He was
and
an
I got
undercover
scared, and I said,
LAPD
18. And
at 10 o'clock in the morning in Jack in the Box. And
in my full pajamas.
Is that enough reasonable suspicion to stop her and say, who are you? What are you doing here?
What are you doing?
How old are you? And where's your baby? I mean, now that I do study the law, I understand that's definitely not.
Your theory is that there was a conspiracy here. This is a vulnerable family with a beautiful baby, and they want that baby.
Yeah.
Because they get huge money for this baby. And later, so you're very critical of the woman that has adopted your baby.
She doesn't see her as a daughter. She sees her as a trophy, and she likes to keep her trophy shiny.
Monday on an all-new Dr. Phil, the Jodi Arias murder trial. New details revealed from the prosecution.
Except for that one mistake. She probably would have gotten away with it.
A jury member.
You're saying one juror seemed to completely ignore the evidence.
And the victim's friends and family.
You said you guys would catch her spying on him.
My wife said, Travis, we're afraid we're going to find you chopped up in her freezer.
That's Monday.
According to you, you had seen a therapist at the suggestion of your caseworker.
The caseworker said, you must see this therapist.
Right.
The very first day we had ever met this woman, we went to the office. It was me, Olivia, Phoebe, and Drew, and Evelyn. We sat in there, and me and Olivia were fighting over the care of Evelyn, how she, you know, we're butting heads, teenager mom. Helicopter mom, whatever.
I just turned 16.
And the woman said, you know, I think a good idea, and Drew was sitting in the session, would be...
This is the friend.
Yes. And said, you know, how about, Olivia, if you go to Drew's for the weekend? Would that be okay, Drew? And Drew said, yeah, that's fine. And the lady said, so why don't you take Evelyn and go to Drew's for the weekend? We'll call that a respite cooling off period. Then we'll regroup and come back and talk about it. That's how it happened. And
this is a therapist that is part of the county system with Interface.
Yes.
So you do that.
Right. Yes.
And walk out of the apartment and are immediately detained.
Yes.
Well, within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they go back, knock on the door, intimidate the person that's in there. Do you know about the baby being here in the apartment? If you say yes, we're going to arrest you for contributing to the delinquency of a minor. If you say no, we'll just take the baby and leave you alone. So he says no.
Right.
So they take the baby and go. That's what you that's what you say happened. So you say your caseworker mandates that you see the therapist. You see the therapist says have this respite with this family friend. You do that, and immediately you walk out of the apartment, are arrested, the baby is taken into the system.
The very next day.
And
that's it. That's where it starts. That's it.
That's what happens. You said you had a letter documenting that this is what the therapist told you. So I asked for the letter, but you don't have that letter.
I don't have a letter documenting this is what they told me. I have in the LAPD report.
Well, in your pre-interview, you said you had that letter.
No, I said I had, when I was asked about proof of that, if you look at the LAPD report when they took Olivia and they interviewed Drew, in the police report, the officer's writing on the report says, Drew told us that he was in the therapy session and it was the therapist's recommendation that Olivia and Evelyn go to his house for the weekend. That's in the LAPD report, written by the officer who took her.
Well, this incident happened on a Thursday.
Wednesday, I believe.
I don't know.
May 7th,
It was on a Thursday.
Okay. A Thursday.
And you were not, and they were asking why you weren't in school.
Right.
Yeah. So they say. I wasn't in school because I wanted to be at home with my daughter.
It was school day, and they're asking you
it
why
very
you're
well
in
could
school.
be.
Yeah.
But your theory, I just want to be clear, is, at least it's your theory, and you may share it, is that there was a conspiracy here. This is a vulnerable family without means to defend themselves, with a beautiful baby, and they want that baby.
Yeah.
And so they targeted you to get that baby because they get huge money for this baby. They get huge donations from some of the entities, and they wanted this baby, and you were targeted.
Yes.
And that this baby was taken, and this is part of a conspiracy.
Yes.
Well, conspiracy is a strong word, but I do think that systems are invested in maintaining the system. And if you see a vulnerable family like we were, and they can pull a child into foster care, or 2 or 3, and they do it.
Yeah. I agree with that.
I do too.
So you all 3 agree with it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And to just complete the circle, she's taken into foster care, and these 2 go to one agency home. Evelyn is placed in foster care with a non-English speaking pig farmer.
Well, these guys were all split up.
We were all
and initially, they were all split up.
Does the answer to my question yes?
Yes. From what I was told, that she was with a non-English speaking person who was a pig farmer and lived in a trailer in Ojai. That's what I was told.
So that's yes. The answer to the
Yes.
question is yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then that non-English speaking pig farmer died.
Yes, she died.
And so
I can't
Evelyn,
make this stuff up. Okay.
and then so Evelyn wound up with the person that now has become the adoptive mother.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
And never to return back to this family unit at all.
Correct.
Never.
Okay, up next, why Olivia says Evelyn's adoptive mom is a bad role model for her daughter. We'll be right back.
I couldn't see my mother, I couldn't see my sister, and I couldn't see my daughter. If I cried too much, if I cried too little. If I said one thing, if I didn't say anything, it was used against me.
And later, you believe she's of poor character.
When I see this is where my granddaughter is, I can't be in contact with my granddaughter. I'm unfit. She's
Because she's
unfit.
what,
She's
partying in
unfit.
Vegas?
That's fit. This is our baby.
This February, beautiful twin sisters
These 2 needles are like my children.
hitting rock bottom.
You said, we're out hooking for drugs. Can we get more because we're twins?
I would do anything to have them back. But they can't.
Oh, my God. Do not make excuses for these girls to their sisters.
More emotion. More surprises. More drama. and we're just getting started.
I had a traumatized 3-year-old girl saying, my daddy hurt me.
Where is he gonna hurt you at?
A child does not say those things unless she was coached.
You cannot coach a 3-year-old. Ask anyone.
That is coaching.
I came here to help my daughter, and you turned this into a giant circus.
I'm done.
Olivia is 22 years old. She's a sophomore in college. She has her own apartment.
This is my home.
She wants her first baby back. My daughter is a great mom. She should have never lost her in the first place. It was an injustice. I would hope that Jillian would allow me to be a grandmother to my granddaughter. But right now, there's no indication that she's going to do that.
Okay, Olivia, her younger sister Phoebe, and her mother Julia were homeless and living in their car when Olivia gave birth to Evelyn at the age of 15. Now, Olivia says she lost custody of Evelyn when she was accused of leaving the baby alone at a friend's house. She claims Evelyn was unjustly taken from her without her consent. So, your position is that your child was taken from you without your consent.
It's not my position, that's a fact. I never gave up my parental rights. I never signed away my parental rights to her. I did everything my case plan asked me to. I did more than one parenting class, which I was only required to do one. I took every pill that they forced me to take. I did every therapy session that they wanted me to do. I was making honor roll in every single high school that they put me at, and they were switching up my foster homes. I mean, I was in group home, foster home, and trying to juggle this. And on top of it, I had a part-time job at Baja Fresh.
And they separated us all.
And
they immediately separated us all
they
and would not allow us to see each other.
I couldn't see my mother, I couldn't see my sister, and I couldn't see my daughter. And they were my entire life. All I wanted, you know, I'm so nerdy. All I would do is I would sneak and try to call my mom to make sure that she was okay just so I could talk to her. Usually kids try to sneak off, go with their boyfriends. I just wanted my mom. I wanted my sister. I wanted my family back. All I wanted was Evelyn. I wanted to be her mother. And I'm not a druggie. I'm not a smoker. I'm not anything like that. I was just a kid. And I did everything they asked me to do, and they said, yeah, and they even say in the report, she's done everything we've told her, but she's too anxious, and she's too depressed, so she can't have her baby.
And they stated in there that Olivia would never be able to lead a normal life or care for children because she had too many mental health issues. And they diagnosed her 10 things.
Even caffeine addiction was in my list of diagnoses. And apparently, don't go to Starbucks, guys. It's caffeine addiction.
Well, I mean, you were, you know, she was 10 diagnoses out of the DSM for a 16-year-old. And then they diagnosed me. The woman who did the had never even met me or talked to me. And she's writing in the reports for the court about me. She is way too volatile, unstable. The woman never had a conversation with me. How do you diagnose someone you've never even talked to?
During this time, I would go to my court hearings and I would meet with the attorney. I would meet with the social workers. And, you know, what was very hard about this is I was not just a foster child. I was a foster child fighting for a foster child. So every move I made was documented. And if I made a mistake, if I cried too much, if I cried too little, if I said one thing, if I didn't say anything, it was marked down, it was used against me.
And they have a way of Dr. Phil, they have a way of twisting the truth.
And not only that, but they're like, oh, she wants to see her mom. She's clearly volatile. They're trying to kidnap the baby, which I have never, ever
Well, they said from get-go, I was a danger to my children and my granddaughter because they said I would potentially kidnap them. There was no indication of that. As a matter of fact, when LAPD grabbed Olivia and the baby, the caseworker called me and said, Julia, we need you to go to Phoebe's school and pick her up and bring her into foster care. And I had to do that. And I had to go to my 12-year-old daughter's middle school, and I took her to Burger King and sat her down and said, honey, I'm sorry you have to go back into foster care. And she was like, started crying hysterically. She was a cheerleader. I was the cheerleading squad coach.
Who's my squad mom?
For all of the cheerleaders. Maybe I was poor, maybe I was homeless, but you know what? I was still a loving mother. I loved my kids, and we were going to get on our feet. You know what they could have done? They could have helped us. But instead, they ripped us apart. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So, Phoebe, they put you in a felony home, correct?
Well, at first I was in a few foster homes. I just bounced around quite a bit, and I was given a casa. And she just fell in love with me, and she decided to become my foster mom.
And was forbidden to see me. That was one of the terms. She could have zero contact with me, zero contact with her sister, zero contact with her niece. And I just want to say, when Evelyn was born, you all saw the picture. We were there. She cut the cord. I saw that baby take its first breath of life, so did she. And we may have been poor, but you look at the pictures, we had love. We all loved each other. It was like divide and conquer was what I felt. Split them all up, isolate them, don't let them talk to their mother. This is a child who needed their mother. I was their strength.
They told me, if you did not sign away your parental rights today, then you are going to jail. And I didn't know what to do. And I felt like I had nothing. And so I ran.
So you're very critical of the woman that has adopted your baby.
Yes. Because this is what happened. I went to court, and I was 16, and I met her after Evelyn was placed with her.
Wait, let me just tell them one thing, because they need a little background. I was barred from all her court proceedings. She begged and cried, can my mom please be in here? I'm scared, I'm terrified.
They wouldn't let her.
They said, absolutely not. We're treating her as an adult. I'm pushed out.
I went to court, and I was terrified. And I met Jillian, and she, she sat with me, and I was crying, and she's like, I know, it's okay, I had a little bit of a troubled past, too. I ran away when I was 15, and, she started telling me things, and she was like, if anything happens, I promise you, I will always keep her in your life, I promise. And I cannot tell you, Dr. Phil, I held on to those words, because I'm like, okay, at least, if anything happens, at least I will be a part of her life. Because it didn't look good. Because they kept telling me, you're going to lose her, you're going to lose her, you're going to lose her. And I was trying everything I could not to. And she promised me. And then I reach out. And then I'm told, when I'm 17, after I've been fighting, after I've been holding a job, after they've been going my visits down from 4 hours to 3 hours to 2 hours to 1 hour a week.
To no visits.
And because Jillian would take her out of town or would just decide, I'm not having a visit. And so I would get none, and I hadn't seen my daughter in a month. I hadn't seen my mom and my sister in months. And they told me, the attorney and the caseworker sat me down and told me that if you do not sign away your parental rights today, you are going to go to jail. I was terrified, and I didn't know what to do. And I felt like I had nothing, and so I ran. I ran as far away as I could because I'm like, I am not signing her away. After I turned 18, I got pregnant with my son, Harrison. And I started turning my life around, and I reached out to Jillian, and I said, and before that, I had called a phone number that she had given me at court. She said, this is my phone number, if you want to call. And I called, and I left a message, and I'm like, this is Olivia. I would like to talk. I would like to meet with you. I never said, let me see Evelyn, let me do this. I was like, can we meet, please? And then I wrote her an email after I had my son, Harrison. And I said, and you can pull up your email. I was like, I just want to know everything's okay. I just want to know she's okay. Please let me know how my baby is. She ignored me. And then I start digging on the internet. And I find pictures of her with multiple different men. And cigarettes. I see how, in cigarettes, smoking, and she's drinking, she's in Vegas, and I'm over here, and I'm trying to get my life together. I have my son, I'm in college, and I'm doing whatever I can, and I lost my baby, but she's allowed to party, she's allowed to be with other men, and she's allowed to do whatever she wants, but she's never with my daughter. But she tries so hard not to let me see her. You know what one of my friends said? You know what my friend said? She doesn't see her as a daughter, she sees her as a trophy, and she likes to keep her trophy shiny.
Whoa, wait a minute. How do you, whoa. Wait a minute. How do you know all of this from a picture?
No, it goes
multiple pictures.
It goes way beyond a picture. It goes way beyond a picture.
What background check?
I've done background checks on her.
We are very concerned about our family
because I want to know how my daughter is.
This is our blood.
What kind of background checks?
Just
I've
what you run online.
What
you run online. The one you run online, like, you just put her name in and all these pictures of her
and all of a sudden she's a stay-at-home mom, but not really because...
There, that picture right there.
That's such a mother right there.
There's the cigarettes and drink, but she doesn't drink or smoke, and she's an at-home mom full-time, and all she does is care about babies.
I don't think that's her home. I don't
That's
think
Vegas.
that's a
Looks like
problem.
Vegas.
Oh, yeah,
Saying.
it's Vegas.
When we
I'm
saw
not in
this, I'm sorry, when I see this is where my granddaughter is, I can't be in contact with my granddaughter. I'm unfit. She's
Because
unfit.
she's what,
She's
partying in
unfit.
Vegas?
That's fit. I'm sorry.
You believe she's of poor character.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can show she's of poor character. We went to her business site, and she has 2 pictures of before and after. She's a personal trainer of a supposed client. And then she writes a letter of, this is my favorite client. Well, we ran a Google image search on those pictures.
Never her client.
They're not her clients.
It's Jennifer
The
Jimenez.
one woman has her own business in Berkeley. The other woman is a model for a diet pill ad. She's on over 759 websites. That's fraud.
So this is the type of person, but she says I'm a liar and that she saved her.
And one more thing, just to go to her character, I read through the adoption documents, well, you know, what they wrote, and she absolutely swore up and down she never worked. She's an at-home, stay-home mom, that this is her purpose in life, is to raise children, and that when it was time for the visits for Evelyn to go, and this is the other big problem, this is before the adoption when she was a foster care mother, she would tell Evelyn, you're going to see Zoe the dog, talking about her, and would say, don't worry, honey, this is a 2-year-old you're talking to. Don't worry, you'll be back and you'll come see Mommy talking about herself.
And Mommy loves you.
And Mommy loves you. But right now you have to go see Zoe the dog. Dr. Phil, this is her baby.
This is mine.
Her blood. Just because the government stepped in and said, no, it's not, doesn't change anything for us. This is our baby.
Monday on an all-new Dr. Phil, the Jodi Arias murder trial.
What is the untold story?
The prosecutor speaks out for the first time.
Except for that one mistake. She probably would have gotten away with it.
All new Dr. Phil. That's Monday.
Olivia, you made a Facebook post about coming to find Evelyn. This was on October 21st. Mommies, I'm in a dilemma. I'm in California for the next week, and I want to see Evelyn so bad it hurts. I want to meet her brother, and I want to hold her again and see her smile. I know where she is. I have addresses and phone numbers thanks to a little self-private investigating. But I don't want to spook her.
Yep.
I'm very tempted to call her and see if we can have a visit. What should I do?
I never say in here that I wanted to come and find her. But I do want to say, what mother that's had their child ripped from them and wants to meet her little brother would not?
I'm in California for the next week. I want to see Evelyn.
Of course I would. I want to see her every day.
Yeah.
It's her baby, Dr. Phil. This is her baby.
This is mine.
Her blood. Just because the government stepped in and said, no, it's not, doesn't change anything for us. Yeah. This is our baby.
Yeah.
Thank you. We will not stop fighting until we have exhausted every aspect of the courts to bring her home.
I even saying that I don't want to spook her because I know that would be inappropriate. And I just want to say this was after I had emailed Jillian and said, could we please talk? Could we do this? So this is just implying, should I meet with her? Should I see her? What should I do? I was trying to get advice from other mothers.
Okay, then here's another post. So apparently to qualify as a mother in the eyes of CPS, you can hop around the country with your boyfriend, party, smoke, drink quite a bit, do fitness competitions pretty regularly, lie to police officers, and just go to Vegas just 'cause. But a teenager can't have her own child, but they give her to this A-class person. Hashtag bring Evelyn home, hashtag so done. Then you post, she's the biggest piece of trash.
And I stand by every word I say.
22 years old, Dr. Phil, 22 years old. Okay.
I'm not recounting any of that.
No, reference the language because you're talking about a 22-year-old, number one. Number two, after we saw the pictures in the cocktail gowns, and you have to understand, we have multiple pictures, not one, not two, not 5, 20, and every picture she's with different guys. There's never a woman in the picture.
Sometimes
there's
two different
never
guys.
a baby in the picture. There's never, is she with the boyfriend, this boy? I don't know which man, because there's so many men around this woman. There's never a child. You don't see a picture of her with the baby. You don't see her with, her husband. She's divorced now. She lives with her now boyfriend and his kids. Where's Evelyn in that mix?
Is it possible that she doesn't want to post her picture up for fear that she might
For fear of what? That we'll love her?
identify her and make her an easier target to kidnap?
Oh, so,
I have never threatened kidnapping.
Okay, we've been in California area the same since 2008 Evelyn was born. We have never made contact with her or Evelyn. Maybe she emailed or whatever. Never physically made any contact. We know exactly where Evelyn is and has known because she was the foster care mother. So we know there's never been any attempts to kidnap this child or even make contact or even take a picture. So where's this big fear of kidnapping? We are operating within the constraints of law. I'm not at Berkeley studying the law, so I can go violate it by kidnapping my granddaughter. Mm-hmm. I'm doing it the legal way.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you're at Berkeley studying the law, so you can do this the legal way, then you know that the statute of limitations for challenging an adoption is 1 year unless there's fraud, and then it's 3.
Don't say anything.
Sorry.
Unless there's fraud, and then it's 3 years.
Unless you...
And this has been 5.
You can get around the statute.
Do you want a relationship with your baby, or do you want to be outraged?
I made a mistake and I posted it on Facebook.
And then you sit here and say, I stand by every word of it. She's a piece of trash.
Do you need Dr. Phil's help? Text Phil to 88500 and share your story for a chance to appear on the show. Standard message and data rates may apply.
Show without you, our studio audience.
If you are going to be in the Los Angeles area and you would like free tickets, go to drphil.com and click on Be in the Audience.
Because we have a lot of fun here, don't we?
Or you can call 323-461-PHIL. That's 323-461-7445.
Having spent most of my professional career in the litigation arena, I'm not sure the best strategy is to assassinate the character of the mother that has control of the child at this point.
But it was okay to assassinate her character and my character.
I'm not asking you, I'm not...
And Jillian continues to assassinate our character.
Would you rather be right or would you rather be happy?
Happy.
She has the child. Mm-hmm. She has control of the child, and you are shooting yourself in the foot here. I mean, you can be right, you can be victims, but if what you want is a different outcome, you couldn't be going about it more the wrong way if you sat down and decided, I'm going to sabotage myself from the get-go. Did you anywhere back in like Law 101.1, did you read that thing about possession is 9 points of the law? Who has possession?
Jillian does.
Who has the power?
She does.
And so you're running uphill.
Yeah.
And so what you're going to do is piss off the person with the baby?
I have tried so hard to be nice. Yeah. I've tried email. I have tried to be as passive as I can be.
You're posting that she's a piece of trash.
4 years after I've tried.
Well, okay. So
after I've tried and tried.
I understand, but
you
we
want to
have
be
talked
right,
about
or do you
this.
want to get a relationship with your baby?
Something, it doesn't follow through.
And we have talked about this, not doing.
Do you want a
Facebook
relationship
post.
with your baby, or do you want to be? Or you want to be outraged?
I took to it because I have been trying to do this. I've been dealing with this for 6 years, and I have no one else to turn to. And so, yes, I made a mistake, and I posted it on Facebook.
And then you sit here and say, I stand by every word of it. She's a piece of trash. She went to Vegas.
Okay, so now you have somebody else to talk to.
I'm just trying to help you.
Yeah.
I don't think you got a square deal. Okay. Let me tell you, your story goes a whole lot better when you're the only one telling it. But when you start, I can start cross-examining you two right now, and this audience is going to be clapping at different places. Because I have not cross-examined either one of you. And if I start doing that right now, you ain't as squeaky clean as everybody thinks.
I never said I was perfect.
I didn't say you said you were. I just haven't cross-examined you. I haven't gone over your record.
My record's irrelevant to Evelyn.
But you're injecting yourself into this thing and saying, I've been barred from the courtroom and I did. Look, there's a lot of reasons things get momentum. And the enemy here is not Jillian.
I know that. I know that. I know that. I know that.
The enemy is not Jillian. Jillian is just a woman that has adopted a baby and from everything I can see has done a very good job of raising this child. Because she owns a sequin dress doesn't make her a bitch.
And well, why did no one is saying that? But you know what?
Dr. Phil, if it would make her more comfortable, if she doesn't want Evelyn to see me, let my family. Let her see her grandmother. Let her see her aunt, please.
You're missing the point. You're aiming your guns at the wrong target.
Right. He's saying we should be going after CPS.
You're going to train your guns on somebody. It's not the adoptive mother.
No,
but I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to finally meet the woman in the sequin dress.
Olivia's parental rights were taken away. After the adoption, it was my choice to not have any contact with Olivia. I wasn't going to have a mother in and out of my child's life. Olivia's been harassing me. She's been stalking me. Olivia showed up at my daughter's school. I adopted a beautiful baby girl, and I have every right to not be harassed and stalked.
Want to know what's coming up on Dr. Phil? Visit our website and subscribe to our email newsletter. You'll get weekly updates, life strategies, and exclusive video that you won't find anywhere else.
Plus, on drphil.com, you can see sneak previews of upcoming shows. Log on today.
We ran our time today as we try to unravel the details in this devastating drama for Olivia and her mother, Julia. Tomorrow, we meet Jillian, the adoptive mom, the two women accused of all kinds of inappropriate behavior.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil.
We're going to finally meet the woman in the sequin dress.
Adoptive mom versus birth mom.
Olivia's been harassing me, stalking me. I have not.
How far will the family go?
Bring the restraining order. I'll show you where you blatantly lied in it. Bring it.
To get the baby back.
Why are you attacking this woman? You're in her face saying, you lie, you lie, you lie.
She's a saint. We're the bad people. Is that what you're telling me?
That's tomorrow.
Is Jillian a bad mom who neglects Evelyn, as both women claim? Or is Jillian a truly loving mom raising Evelyn in a happy, safe home? Watch tomorrow. You will not want to miss it. I want to thank all of my guests today. On drphil.com, we'll have some important tips for the right way to adopt. Thanks for being here. So long. Thanks, guys.
Weather was the last time. I've always been naive. Call it. Ooh, you know we gon'